As we entered the second arc of the Go Rush anime, following the pattern established by Sevens, we were due for a new gimmick to shake things up and add a new dimension to Rush. As it turns out, that shakeup came with a few plot twists, but anime discussions can be saved for a different kind of video. Equips officially made their introduction to Rush, although the flare and shock maximums came with, and like maximums, their power in the anime, compared to actual play, can be charitably described as overhyped. So what happened this time? Why didn't equips become a constant of the Rush metagame? If you played the TCG before, you're already familiar with their shortcomings, but let's break it down with a Rush lens. To make one thing readily clear and easy to grasp with the flaws of equips, every equip basically has a hidden line of text saying, "You must control one face-up monster." This seems like an unnecessary statement to make, but when deck building, adding cards that don't do anything by themselves need a good reason and payoff to be worth it. Most of the time, equips aren't any better than adding a spell or monster that would do a similar job. The benefit of equips is the idea that they stick around, and as such, offset their negatives by giving you value from their effects continuously. A fair trade-off in theory. In practice, all it ends up really doing is adding a minor obstacle for your opponent, or just taking up a valuable spell and trap zone you could have used for other cards. Remember, equips need other monsters to function, so if you don't find the right monster to equip, or the board state isn't favorable for the activation, you basically have a dead card stuck waiting to be used. Even if you do summon a monster, that monster has to stay on the board, faced with any kinds of disruption, and that equip becomes useless. So if you can't clear it, you're caught holding cards in your hand instead of drawing 5 next turn. Moreover, let's say that monster does stick around and swings back to your turn. You're now working with only 2 spell and trap zones, maybe even 1, and you have to make a choice based on your hand if it's worth keeping the equipped monster around, and unlike the TCG, there isn't a main phase 2. So if you lose that monster to a battle trap, you can't exactly set spell and traps afterwards to make up for the lost equip. You just unceremoniously pass your turn. Lastly, and this is more of a card quality thing, the vast majority of equips in Rush are terrible. Minor effects with negligible upsides that can easily be replaced with other, better cards. Over the TCG's lifespan, equips had to basically either act as pseudo spells or the monster themselves equipped each other, cutting out the need for equips entirely. Look at Infernoble. All the equips are basically spell cards with added floating effects, and the monsters themselves also act as equips, so you aren't solely reliant on the equip spells. Does that mean no equip saw meta play in Rush? Not necessarily. The most consistent trend so far in Rush is that basically any equip that grants massive aggressive pushes tends to be used every now and then. We saw that mainly in the form of Harpy's Full Dress and Road Arm's Grace Spear for Gaia and Wonder Techs. Hey, sometimes all you need is a large number and piercing. You don't really need to worry about clogging some zones if you win that turn. Thanks, 7 Geos. Unfortunately, decks based around equips like Psychic Bandits or Celebros suffer from consistency issues as stated previously, as well as other problems unique to their own decks. So what's the solution? Well, depending on how much Rush R&D wants to push the game, we can start by either getting more equips that give an immediate benefit on activation, or even unequip themselves to clear your zones. It's a tricky problem like maximums, where the flaw is baked into the initial design itself, so breaking the mold a bit and going outside what equips do now would be a good start. And hey, don't worry Konami, I'm sure you'll nail a gimmick introduction soon enough. 3rd time's the charm and all that. And thanks for watching. Once again, I take way too long between videos, but whatever. If you want to hear more stuff like this, leave a like, subscribe, and see you in once again, 2 weeks, 2 months, or whatever. Ciao!